Now, the way, again, I teach programs in software, because software is nothing more than a language, I want to involve you in the thinking process. How Visual Composer thinks, what it needs from you in order to comprehend it and master the program. So if I go back here under Classic Mode is going to give me my classic WordPress experience, which I can use my Ultimatum theme shortcodes, etc., etc. Front end is give me the front end, which we'll talk about in a later video, and back end. If I pick back end, this will basically set me up for doing things in the back end. I can add an element, I can add a text block, I can choose a layout. So in this particular case, let's keep this really simple, and let's say that we're going to build a description page. Description page potentially for a product. So let's go ahead and click that. Once you click that, that's going to put that element inside of your page. It's going to put all the elements needed. Now these are different containers. This is a container also known as a block. This is a block, this is a block, etc., etc. So let me share with you how simple that was to set up. It literally took a mouse click. So if I update this, because I need to update the changes, make a change, save a change. And now if I preview this, again, this is going to pop up a separate window. So look at this. So now I have some really cool things happening with that layout. Now keep in mind, if you recall back to previous videos, that we have it going, pages is going to bring up that particular layout, which was our horrible looking layout for pages only. We're going to go ahead and change that. We're going to go to Edit Layout. We're going to go back to our layout screen. And I don't want pages to basically be globally assigned a layout, so we're going to get rid of that. Okay, so now let's go back a few steps and go back to our page. So now if I refresh my page, you will see that will default to whatever layout I originally had. Now, we're going to make a brand new layout from scratch. Just to understand, we're going to get rid of all of our menus. We're just going to call this VC layout, which will just be very basic vanilla. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to go to Edit. Actually, I didn't want to do that. That was my mistake on that. This is for the front end. My mistake on that. Didn't mean to select that. I meant to select Theme, Layout, Theme Management, Edit Layout. We're going to go back to Layout. And since these other layouts are really nothing we want to use, and I know I mentioned before, get in the habit of cloning something, but I simply want to have a brand new layout from scratch. I'm going to select brand new layout, and I'm just going to put VC for Visual Composer Basic. Therefore, it'll have nothing on it but what I put inside of Visual Composer, and save. And to make this really, really simple, we're just going to insert one row and 100% wide and insert. And the only thing this is going to contain is a WordPress default loop. So we're going to set this up as a WordPress default loop. We don't want to have any placeholders, and we'll come down here and hit save. Okay, so let's go back to the page again for a second. Now, here is the settings that we just did. We just set up a brand new layout called VC Basic. We go back to our page and we want to assign this page to bring up our VC Basic. So we just come over here and we have to refresh the page here because otherwise it's not going to know to do that. And if I click right here, there is my VC Basic. And I'm going to update, make changes to that. Great. So I'm going to close this window. So now if I hit preview changes, it's going to show me what this page looks like minus all the other hoopla. Okay, and that's a simple product page. Very elegantly done, one step at a time. Right, now I have a couple of choices. If you're a visual person, you want to do this from the front end, you can do that by simply going to Edit with Visual Composer. And that's what we're going to choose to do. So it's going to load up Visual Composer. and I can put guides on or off. I'm just going to keep that just the way it is. And now I can go and make changes to things. So as an example, if I move my mouse over different elements, I can change, I can delete, I can add, etc., etc. So what we're going to do right here is we're going to go and get an image for that particular section. So let's review this again. I've selected the front end, which basically enables me to change any design element that I set up in my back end to begin with. Of course, I can make further changes from here, but I just want to share with you I can make editable changes to what already exists. So I'm going to click right here and hit the pencil icon. That pulls up a separate window, and in this window you have different design options, placement, background, etc., etc. We're going to take this one step at a time. So I simply want to go and put an image there. And some of the images we're going to put there, I'm going to go and select some files, and I have some images already set up under hairstyle. So I'm just going to pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm just going to bring them into use. So in this particular case, I'm just going to pick this image right here, and we're going to set that image in place. Now we can set slideshows. We can keep adding more and more images. Now we can also do is set the image size. We can either set it for pixels width, height and width, or we can set it for thumbnail, medium, large, small. So we're just going to type in the word medium and save the changes. Pretty cool. And close this out and update. Okay. I could do the same thing for these other sections. So I could put my cursor right there. I can go out to image. I could select the image, hit set, and change that to medium. Now, you'll notice that this can be rather tedious, especially if you're going to make some other custom changes to that particular widget. But the cool thing about Visual Composer, because they really have thought of a lot of things, and here's the really cool thing they thought about. If I update this, and just to make it a little less confusing, I'm going to go back to my backend editor. And I could do that by just refreshing this page right here. Actually, I'm just going to do that by clicking right here, backend editor. And it'll take me right to the backend. So let's focus on this for a second, because again, this program, this little interface can be very, very overwhelming. Okay, so right now, notice I have this set up to medium. I had to physically go in there and set that to medium. Well, I don't want to have to reinvent the wheel. So here's what I can do. I'm going to trash this altogether, and I'm going to trash this altogether. Altogether, trash. Then based on these choices, if I click right here, that's going to duplicate that particular image. Now, I don't want to duplicate the image. In this particular case, I want to duplicate the row. So based on these choices, this is for this particular block section. I can delete the block, edit the block, add something else to the block. Again, I can delete the block, edit the block, add something to the block. So this plus symbol will enable you to add more information based on where you are. So as an example, if I click down here, it's going to add a whole new element which contains blocks, vocabulary. So based on these choices, what we want to do is clone this row. So I'm going to clone the row once, clone the row twice. Now the advantage of what I just did, and I'm going to update those changes, is I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I still have to swap out the images, but I don't have to set everything to medium because I cloned it. So therefore, if I select the image and I hit the edit button, I can now take this image, I'm going to delete the image, and go and grab another image. So therefore, when I go and grab this new image, it's automatically set to medium or whatever other properties I have set to it. So it's working smart. It's really a smart thing to do. So I'm going to do the same thing for this. I'm going to change that out as well. Actually, I think I selected the wrong thing. I meant to select this. I'm going to delete that and just put a different image in here and save changes. So you can visually see that this is different. I'm not going to bore you with doing these as well, but if I update that, then I can go to preview and I have a totally new look in a very simplistic way. Actually, what just happened there? Let's update this. Oh, you know what? I think when I hit the back button, I didn't save it for that particular layout, so my mistake on that. So I just make sure I update that so it's going to the VC Basic or whatever you set that up to be. So if I update that in preview, you will see the new changes to that page. And the only thing this page contains, it's actually waiting to come up here. It's still spinning here. But the cool thing, now we'll get more into design because again, this isn't looking like such a great design, but I want you to walk before you can run. I just don't want you to be intimidated by Visual Composer. It can be very overwhelming. There are tons and tons of nuances, and we're going to cover them one step at a time. Again, I just want to share with you, if I go back to Edit Page, that's going to bring us right into the back end of Visual Composer, and if I click this, this enables them to make changes to the front end on the fly so I can visually see this in relation to everything else. Of course, if I click here, that's going to add a new element. If I click here, this is going to add a new template. We'll talk about templates in a subsequent video. So right now I want to go back to the backend editor. I'm just going to close this out, and I'm in the backend editor. Again, this is tied to the VC Basic. So in our next video, we'll do some more interesting things and nuances and understanding of working with Visual Composer. So stay tuned.